Hi everyone, my name is Audrey and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about every book series that I've started but have not finished yet. So I was getting ready for a book talk video listing every book from a series that I started that I haven't finished yet. And my list was starting to get pretty long, and I decided to do a full-on video, not just on book talk, where I'm going to talk a little bit more about these books, where I'm at in the series, like how far along in the series I am and all that good stuff. So I have most of these books on my shelves, so physical books, and I have a couple of them that are on my e-reader. I took out all of my physical books from my bookshelves, and that's why it's all empty here. And these are all of my physical books that I own, that I started, that are part of a series that I started, but I didn't finish the series. I do have some books that are on my TBR. There's maybe one or two of them that I might not finish the series because I didn't really enjoy it that much, but I'll talk about it when we get to those. And I did count like the total of books that are in said series. Sometimes I will talk about like novellas that are usually like in between a series, like a book 1.5, for example, or stuff like that. So I may include those ones as well in the total number of books that are actually in the series. Also, I do have some books that are on my TBR that I know are from a duology, trilogy, series, whatever, but I haven't started the first book yet. So there are a couple of series that I do have in mind that eventually I will be starting, but I won't be talking about those right away. For now, I'm just talking about the books that I actually read and books and series that I have started and haven't finished yet, if that makes any sense. So I'm gonna show you the books. Hope you're ready. Let's go.
So the first book I'm starting with is The Diviners, book number 1. Out of 4 books, I own the 2 first books. I only read the first one. I'm currently rereading the first one in order to get to the second one and eventually finish the whole series. Next one is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I've only read the first book so far out of 4 books. Legend by Mary Lou. I've read the first 2 books out of 4. The 4th one has been added on later on. It was originally a trilogy. Pretty Little Liars is a 17 books series with multiple arcs. I do not intend to read the full 17 books, just the 4 first 8 books, and that will be enough for me. The Beautiful by Readathon. This is the first book out of 4. Really loved it. Amazing book, and I cannot wait to get to the next ones. A Let's Away by Darcy Little Badger. This is a surprising one because I did not know that it was going to be a series. I thought it was a standalone, but the second book is expected to be published this year. Violet Made of Thorns by Jenna Chen. I got this one from Fairy Loot. I enjoyed the first one, so I do want to get to the second book and see how it ends, but I do not know when it's going to get out. Brave Bear by Jordan Ifueko. I cannot wait to get to the second book. This was a very surprising read for me. The Wayward Children series. I finished book 5 out of 10 that are expected to be published. Right now, I think the 8th one is the last one to be published as of right now, but there's supposed to be 10 in total. Wicked Like a Wildfire. I did not really enjoy this one. I was very disappointed, but it is a duology and I do own the second book, so I will be finishing it, but I'm not in a rush. Witches Steeped in Gold by Sienna Smart. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't really impressed by it. But I do want to see how it's going to end. It is a duology, so only one more book to go. The Darkening by Sunyamara. I really enjoyed this one. I was surprised by it. It is another Fairy Loot book. I know there's a second book to this one, and I cannot wait to get to it. Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. I do own the second book, but I did start like the first chapter, but didn't actually push through. But I hope I can get to it this year. B219. This is a book written by my husband's friend. It is in French. It's a French Canadian, obviously, and it is in a apocalyptic world. It is a very quick read, and so far there's 4 books and maybe a couple of more like bonus chapters in there. Escaping Exodus by Nikki Drayden. This was a very surprising read as well and very peculiar, but I cannot wait to get the second book, and it is a duology. Finlay Donovan is Killing It by Ellie Cosmano. I'm not sure I enjoy cozy mysteries. I wasn't really impressed by it. I don't get the hype that much about it, so I'm not sure if I want to continue this series, but as of right now there are 5 books in total. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This one I've read 2 books out of the 3. I do own the third one, and I do expect to finish it this year, so I can finish the whole series, even if I've heard mixed things about the last one. Tiny Pretty Things, I didn't really enjoy. I did read it because I wanted to watch the TV series. It is a duology, so I am going to finish it eventually, but I'm not in a rush to get to it. The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This one I devoured, and I cannot wait to get to the other ones. It is a trilogy, so I still have 2 more books to go in the series. I've heard mixed things about the last one, but it's not going to stop me from reading it. The Lord of the Rings. I own the 3 books. I've read so far only the first book, and I'm currently in the middle of the second book. I am enjoying it, even if it's taking me a long time to read. The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Niveau. This was a very surprising read. I loved it so much, and I cannot wait to get to the other books. So far, there are 8 books in this series. She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. I own the second book, and so far from what I've seen on Goodreads, it's a duology. Maybe more books will come up eventually, but so far there's only 2, and I do own the second one. Cannot wait to get to it as well. The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell. I really enjoyed this one, and so far it has 4 books, and I'm really excited to get to it. The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This is one of my favorite reads of all time. I've only read the first book, but I own the 2 other books of the trilogy, and I am expecting to read the second book this year. The Adventures of Amina Al-Surafi. This was a 6-star read for me last year. I love Shannon Chakraborty's writing, and this book was just amazing. And I know it's going to be 3 books, but I don't think the second book has been published yet. The Devabad trilogy, so City of Brass and Kingdom of Copper, I have read both of those. I only need to read the last and third book of this trilogy. I loved this series so much. Again, I love S.A. Chakraborty's writing, and it's an amazing series so far. I hope I won't be disappointed in the last installment. Ma vie de gâteau sec, which is the first book of a series written by a friend of mine with whom I went to university with. This is a youth series, so between middle grade and YA. It's very, very, very quick to read, and it's so much fun, and it's contemporary. And in April, we have this book fest, and hopefully I can get my books signed from her at the book fest this year, and I do want to continue on this series. Wolf by Wolf by Ryan Grodin. This one is a surprising read as well. I really enjoyed it. It is a duology, and I think there's a third, like, half book between like book 1 and 2 in there that is more of a novella. But I do want to get to it and have closure into this story. The Chronicles of Narnia. So I do own the book set for the 7 books of Narnia, but I've only read the first book, which is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, with my son, and I don't think I'm going to finish them soon because I do want to read them with my son during bedtime stories. The Girl from the Other Side by Nagabe. This is a very surprising manga that is underhyped and not known enough. An amazing read. I do own right now I own books number 2 and 3 as well, so I hope I can get to them this year. There is a total of 12 books in this manga. Spy Family, I read 5 books out of 12. Really love this series. It's fun, easy to read, and I don't think I own any more in the series, but I will get to them eventually. Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. I've read books 4 out of 6. Another very quick read and very fun graphic novel. Cannot wait to get to the last 2 books. Next, we have my digital books. So we have the Elderlings universe. I'm reading the full Robin Hobb universe. So I started the Farseer trilogy, which has 3 books in itself, but the whole universe of the Elderlings universe, there's 16 books in total. I'm trying to read 1 a month this year, and so far I finished reading 2 books out of 16, and I'm on my 3rd book. But I did read Fool's Assassins, which is in the later books first, unfortunately. But I'm going back, and I'm definitely going to reread Fool's Assassins when I get to that one as well. Next, we have A Boy Called Christmas by Matt Haig. This one was also a surprise for me because I didn't think there was a series of these books. It's a very quick read, and from what I've seen on Goodreads, there are 6 books in this series. I've read only the first one. Next, we have Death Note. I've read 3 books out of 13 manga. I've seen the whole anime already, so I know what's going to happen, but I do want to finish reading them all eventually. Next, we have Shatter Me, and I've currently read only 3 books out of the 11 books, and out of the 11, I am counting the half books between separate books. So I've read book 1, book 1.5, and book 2, and I do not like these books. I do own the digital box set of books 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and 3. And I do intend on finishing the first 3, the first original trilogy before they got the second trilogy out. But I don't think I'm gonna read the second set of trilogy and books. Next, we have Aristotle and Dante. which I've read book 1 out of 2, and I'm not sure I really want to get to the second book. I didn't really enjoy the first one, so I think we're gonna leave it at that. The Blood Trials, I've read book 1 out of 2, and this one was another 6 stars for me last year. I loved it so much, and I cannot wait to get to book number 2. Next, we have The Heroes of Olympus. I've read book number 1 because I do have like the box set of the whole Heroes of Olympus, which are 5 books. But if you count like the whole books from Rick Riordan, there are 23 books in the Percy Jackson universe. And so far, I've only read book number 1 of Heroes of Olympus. So I've read 1 book out of the 5, or 23 if you count the whole Percy Jackson universe. The Game of Thrones, which is book number 1 out of 7 of the series. I've watched the TV series and I only read book number 1, which I really enjoyed. I do own book number 2 on my e-reader as well, but I haven't gotten to it yet. Next, we have Bones of Ruin, which I've read book number 1 as an e-arc, and from what I've seen on Goodreads, it's supposed to be 3 books. I know book number 2 is out, and I think book number 3 is going to be published soon-ish. Next, we have Downworld, which I've read as an e-arc. I've also been asked if I wanted the e-arc of book number 2, which I said yes to, but I didn't get to it. Unfortunately, I had so many other things to read at that time. So I will finish to read book number 2, and from what I've seen on Goodreads as well, there's supposed to be a 3rd book. I don't know if there's going to be more, but so far it's going to be a trilogy, and yeah, I'm excited to get to it because it is quite surprising as a series, a fun read. Next, we have All Systems Red, which is the Murderbot series by Martha Wells. This is book number 1 out of 7, and it's the only book I've read so far. These are novellas, except for the last one, I think, which is a full novel, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm not sure if I want to continue this series. Maybe by pushing through, I'll eventually enjoy it a little bit more. I don't know. We'll see. A Master of Jinn, which is book number 1 out of 3 that are expected to be published eventually. I don't think book number 2 is published yet. And there are 3 novellas that are prequels to A Master of Jinn, which I've already read 2 of those beforehand. And the 3rd one, it just got published, so I haven't read it. I didn't know it existed, so I am putting that on my list. And P. Jelly Clark is an Odobai author, so I'm definitely going to finish this series. And the last and final book of this list is The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. So I did have a physical copy of this book, but I did not like the format. It was a weird format. It was kind of like a mass market paperback, but taller. It was weird. I hated it. It was broken, so I gave it away. But I do intend on finishing this series. There are 4 books. I do want to finish them, and I wanted to repurchase these books, but in the proper paperback format.
So there you have it, my 45 books in a series that I've started, but I haven't finished yet. It's not too bad, I think, considering everything that I read. I am set on finishing, or at least making some progress in a lot of those books. Some of them I'm not very eager to finish, and some others I cannot wait for the other books to come out. But yeah, that's part of the reading gig. Let me know if you've read any of these books. Have you started any of those? Did you finish them? Are they worth the hype? How many books from a series have you started that you haven't finished yet? I would love to know. Like, comment, subscribe if you wish. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified every time I upload a new video. And I will see you soon in the next one. Bye.